So guys, this is the rundown on the car as of right now. Today is Sunday the 20th, I think. Planned on having this car done a long time before now. Had some stuff come up and I'll kind of save that towards the end of the video. For anybody who wants to know, I'll kind of explain what's been going on the last month or so. And I'll take you guys all around the car and show you what I've done, and it's almost ready to fire up. I'm just waiting. I'm not really waiting. I've got to upload the software for HP tuners, which I have right directly behind the camera. So I'm going to do that tonight, and then hopefully fill up all the fluids in the car and then start it sometime this week, which as soon as I do that, then I'll be uploading even just a short video of it running, just because I know a lot of people have been waiting for that. So we'll get into that in this video, and then I'll show you guys what all I'm working on, what all I'm trying to finish up, and then tell you guys, you know, what's been going on the last month or so at the end of the video. So if you want to know that, then stick around till the end. So I've been working on the back of the car and wiring everything up. I actually went to a friend of mine to get a plate cut so I can put a dual Walbro 450 hanger in there. What I was going to do is build the top plate out of stainless and then build a hanger out of stainless. He's too busy to do it, so I got to find another source to cut that. So I'll have to be looking for a machine shop. I have the wheel tubs all cut. I got my Intercooler mounted. Again, a lot of you guys have probably seen this if you follow my Instagram. Yeah, my wheel tubs finished up. I think I said that. Started on the wiring mess here. Originally, I had all the relays up in the front of the car, and then how I wanted to run it was run a large, I think this is a 120 amp relay. So this is like my ignition relay here. This lead here sends power up to the dash up there, and I'll show you guys that here in just a second. But I'm going to have an ignition wire. I'm going to have an ignition wire come back, power this on hot, and then that'll turn on the fuse panel up there, which will turn on all the electronics in the computer. And then this is for my fuel pump, and this one should be for the trans fan, which I don't have it labeled. And then I'll have another fuse panel for the powers for these, because I'm not going to run the fuel pump, which is back here, all the way up to the front to get power. I'll just run it here. It's shorter. Some 10 gauge wire for the fuel pump. And I guess we'll move up to the front to show you guys what's left. I think I told you guys last time I got my springs re-arched. Not super happy with how they turned out. The guy there, it was a truck shop, so they're kind of like a if it fits, it ships type thing. They don't really care what it looks like or anything, but it seems like they put two different springs on, because the one doesn't taper down. The one on the passenger side doesn't taper down nearly as much on the ends. So I'm assuming that's a stiffer spring. So I put a stiffer one on the passenger side, which most cars, when they hook and leave, they'll kind of try to roll that way. So I'm kind of using it to my favor, but wasn't super happy with that. I got my Caltrax in, which I don't know if I showed on the last video or not. Probably not. It's been quite a few months. So I've got them in. I've got my front hangers installed the whole way up. I don't have my shocks in yet, just because they're expensive Viking shocks, and I didn't want to have them out here rusting. And I also have an update on the barn here soon. I'll get to that on the end of the video. for any of you guys that are new to the channel, this is a 72 Plymouth Valiant. It's a 4-door. When I get around the outside of the car, I will show you what it looks like complete, just so you don't see just bits and pieces of it. So I've got a cover, which my girlfriend moved, but basically this is my start relay here, and then this is my fan, which I don't have hooked up. I don't have my radiator in yet. All my hots, my ground panel, ground, and power. So that relay that's in the back of the car, which is 120 amp, doesn't send power up to the front of the car until the ignition switch is on. So none of this stuff works if the ignition switch is off. I wanted to wire it like that instead of having the relay up here. I don't really have enough room on this panel to have that big relay. So I just split off a different panel on there and put that on there. You can see I can still have a few that I need to wire in. This is check engine light. This is engine speed. I have another one back there. I can't remember what it is. I did wire in my push button start. I might actually take that out of there because that was kind of a surprise. Hopefully you guys can see it. I'll leave it in there for you guys that actually watch this. So I've got my wideband in over here. It's just kind of pushed in. It's not actually mounted, but it's wired into here. So it's got its own power, own ground. Sensor wire goes out to the engine. So I think that's about it. I have the main hot lead going under the car up to the starter, and then it goes to the back of the head for the ground. So the hot lead goes down there, and then the alternator comes, you know, from the charging point on the alternator back around the back of the engine and then to the starter. So this 4-gauge here is a separate wire, the one that powers up the fuse panel here. This is a separate wire, and it runs down this sill here. And I kind of dummied up, and I secured this all, and then I put these 2 wires in here. One of them is for the pump signal, which is this green one for my fuel pump relay. And then this one is for the constant hot for the GM computer. I kind of dummied up on it. I didn't really think about it before I zip tied all these in and secured it. I need 2 more wires in it to run power up to the ignition switch, and then power back for when the ignition switch is on to turn on the relay. So for right now, I'm just going to, you know, have that run back. And then for first start, then I will just go ahead and hook it to the battery. As you guys can see, my computer's right there. That should be all done. Everything's in it. I just got to tune it. I've got my OBD2 port right here. Sorry about the bad lighting. My shifter, I don't have a cable for it, but like I said, we're just going to test start it. All right. So I shortened up the dipstick on this. All I had was truck dipsticks. And then I don't know if you can see the crosshatch, but I kind of used a file and filed crosshatch into it so you could pick up oil better. And I measured that. It's about 1 inch below the pan rail, which I don't know if that's correct, but it's what we're going to run with. I'm going to throw 6 quarts in there, and if she's on the stick, then I think she's good. I got my O2 sensors. This is the factory one here. This is the wideband. The wideband's just something junk that I had kind of laying around, so I hope it works. I bought it at a like race swap meet, so if I get boned on that, I guess I'll be buying another one. This is my hot lead down to the starter. I don't know if you can even see the starter down there. No, you can't. I basically got my temp sensor. Put my finger in front of it. I got my temp sensor wiring going right there. I've got my crank sensor and it follows along the back side of the head. And then also the starter trigger wire. I've got my oil hooked up and hot, or hooked up and tight. I primed it, I put oil in the turbo, spun it, put more oil in it. I probably put, I don't know, probably about a half cup of oil in it over time. I still have the snorkel for the intake that goes down, and I got my intake temp sensor here that I need to plug in before we do a startup on it anyways. And I think that's about it to show you. Got my regulator, and I've got all the lines strapped up out of the way. I guess I'll show you guys that next. Get under the car and show you. Yeah, I think that's about it. So I've got everything stacked on top of the car, but it's just a 4-door 72 Valiant, and it's got a 68 grill. The 72 grill has kind of like a beak, not a beak, but the grill shell goes in, which I couldn't fit an intercooler. You can see the intercooler in there. This one's actually pretty cut out. So I had to, cut quite a bit out of it. This is more flat, and I bought it cheap from an old paint shop that was retiring it. So I sold the old grill, which was worth, I think I got $300 out of it. I paid $400 for or $350 for the car. So I got rid of that. This is all disc brake. I got my steering coming. I don't have the steering hooked up on it, but these are aftermarket brake kit. Like I said, I got some steering parts coming for it this week. I think that's about it to show you guys. A lot of people have been asking about the wheels on it. They are 15 by 10s, and they are 5.5 back spacing, which is a 0 offset on a 10-inch rim, I guess. And I'm running a Explorer 88 that is 2 short side axles. So you take 2 passenger side axles of the short axle, and then you cut 2 7/8 of an inch out of the driver's side. And then, it's equal length, no offset on the diff. So that's what the tires look like. Like I was saying, there's a little more ride height on the other side, so I will show you guys the underside of the car here in just a second. So here we're under the car. The inside of the rails are painted. As you can see, I've just got push lock hose that runs to the back over top of the axle, and then eventually into the fuel tank, which I showed you guys in the beginning. Runs all the way up, and then up into the fuel regulator, and then back. My trans lines, get a light real quick. Starter. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but these older Mopars have torsion bars on them, which is a lot of the reason why people don't or can't swap them. It's probably the biggest hindrance in them. Also, along with the crossover steering, the steering is in the back on these, which is quite a pain to deal with sometimes. So it really lends itself well to a turbo setup because a lot of people don't run the exhaust, either out the hood or out the fender. They don't ever run it back through here. It's very hard to get an exhaust through here unless you're running like 2-inch or something. It gets very crowded around here. The whole engine bay and everything in this car is very crowded. I mean, it's quite a feat to stuff a Hemi or something into one of these, I would assume. It's probably less a pain than this, but nonetheless, it's not like a Fox body or an S10 or a Camaro swap. It's not a bolt and throw in from across the room type deal. So I guess I was showing you that. I've got my battery cables on the bottom, trans lines on the top. And those run back over top of the axle, eventually back into the battery box / the cooler that is in the very back of the car. I was a little worried about the length of the trans lines, but I guess I talked to a couple people and I guess that doesn't really matter. So I'm going to take their word for it and just figure it doesn't matter. And I think that's it for the underside of the car. I showed you guys the Caltrax drive shaft loop that I screwed up and didn't put in the center. These Mopars are offset tunnel. The driver's side is wider, so I cut the bar thinking it was going to be right in the center, and it's not. That was my fault, but it's good enough for who it's for, so. I guess I can show you guys this too. I bought a 55 glass front end. It needs quite a bit of work, but I didn't pay much for it. It's a very vintage glass piece, so you can see it's cracked, chipped on the beak here and over here. Needs a lot of love. A lot of my projects are like that, and as you can see how I treat them, my wagon's being used as a shelf. Alright guys, so I forgot to do an outro. So I'm back here at the back of the car, and I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible, updating you guys on what's going on, what the plans are, why I haven't been updating, why the car's not done yet. I'm trying to get the garage. I've been spending a lot of time trying to get the garage ready. I've got to get all my stuff out. If you guys seen it here, it's a little bit cluttered. I've got to get all of it out. I'm going to be tearing up this patch of concrete, leaving the old section over to my left, but tearing up this section that the car is on and putting all new concrete in here in the next month. As far as that'll be a week of no travel on it, I think, is what you're supposed to do for concrete. I would like to get the spray foam done at the same time, but I don't know if that's feasible. So I've got that 55 clip that I just showed you guys. I got that about a week ago. I've got a mutual friend of mine making some intro music for some custom intro music for the channel, so that I don't get copy striked. I've been dealing with that a lot. A lot of the free royalty free music that we had back in the day when I first started doing YouTube apparently is no longer royalty free, and they flagged 2 or 3 of my videos that didn't have barely any views. It was a little bit nonsense, but it is what it is. So trying to get more serious about doing YouTube, so I put some money into the intro music and background music, help out a local business / friend. Lastly, I've been having some health issues. About a month ago, I had a headache for a couple days that I couldn't get rid of. I finally checked my blood sugar. My blood sugar was 320. Normal is like 80. I guess anything after 250 you can have a stroke. You're highly susceptible to have a stroke. So I've been focusing on my health and everything a little more than I have the car. I've still been working on the car, but I've pretty much changed my whole diet. I haven't trying to stay away from carbs, sugars, anything like that. So it's been quite a challenge to, you know, I work on the road, so I stop at gas stations all the time to get fuel, and I hadn't been eating like I should, and none of this is meant for you guys to sympathize of what's happened to me. Everything I ate and how I treated my body is my own responsibility, and there's nothing that, you know, I accept it. You gotta deal with consequences. For right now, it's been almost a month. My blood sugar's down 90, 80, 100, which is normal range. And I've lost 22 pounds as of today. I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm starting to get to where I can't fit into some of my old pants, like they just fall off. So that's good. But yeah, I don't want to hold you guys up anymore. I just wanted to kind of spill, you know, what's been going on and why I haven't been updating, why it's taking so long. I've been trying to focus on some other stuff that's probably more important. Your health is very hard to get back once you lose it. So if anything, hopefully this helps somebody to realize, you know, maybe they need to make a change. It's not easy or fun. I miss a lot of the food. I feel a lot better. I don't need to babble on, but thank you everybody for watching. If you have any questions about, you know, this half of the video, you can go ahead and comment down in the comment section, and, you know, ask if, you know, what I'm eating for a diet or whatever. You know, maybe I can help. I'm probably not the most knowledgeable person in dietary needs, but if you're interested in that, or if you have any other questions about, you know, the 55 front end or whatever that I updated in this video, then just go ahead and comment. I'm an open book. Thank you guys.